Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
On a quiet morning in 1950, the residents of San Francisco awoke to the same soft fog that so often blanketed their city. The Golden Gate shimmered through the mist, the streets bustled with life, and the salty Pacific breeze swept inland as it always had. Yet, unknown to them, the haze that drifted between the hills that day carried more than just moisture. Hidden in the mist was an invisible payload, a spray of bacteria released by their own government in an unprecedented test, a biological warfare dispersion. For an entire week, the United States Navy conducted one of the most audacious and controversial domestic experiments in modern history, without the knowledge or consent of those breathing the air. This was not a chapter from dystopian fiction. It was a real event, shrouded in secrecy for decades. It became one of the earliest public revelations that the U.S. military, in the name of national security, had deliberately exposed civilians to potentially harmful agents to study the effects of a hypothetical enemy attack. The backdrop to this experiment was the tense early years of the Cold War. In the aftermath of World War II, the United States found itself locked in a dangerous and paranoid standoff with the Soviet Union. Biological weapons research, once thought of as a far-off nightmare, became a pressing priority. American military strategists feared that Soviet planes, submarines, or clandestine operatives could unleash deadly pathogens upon unsuspecting cities. To defend against such threats, they argued, the country needed to understand exactly how such an attack would unfold, how bacteria, viruses, or toxins might drift, spread, and linger in an urban environment. But instead of relying solely on simulations or laboratory studies, some within the military decided to take the question to the real world. In September 1950, the U.S. Navy's Sixth Fleet carried out Operation Sea Spray, a classified mission aimed at testing the feasibility of dispersing biological agents from offshore. A Navy minesweeper, the USS George Eastman, cruised just beyond San Francisco's coast, releasing a fine spray of two bacterial species, Serratia marcescens and Bacillus globigii, into the wind. The choice of these microorganisms was deliberate. Serratia marcescens produces a distinctive red pigment, making it easy to track in environmental samples, while Bacillus globigii, a spore-forming bacterium, was thought at the time to be harmless to humans and served as a stand-in for more dangerous agents like anthrax. From the Navy's perspective, these were safe surrogates. In truth, the science was far from certain, and the assumption of harmlessness would later be tragically undermined. Over the course of 7 days, the ship's crew sprayed massive quantities of the bacterial mixture into the coastal air, allowing the prevailing winds to carry it over San Francisco and surrounding areas. Military observers on shore monitored the spread by placing detection devices in various locations, gathering air and surface samples to measure how far and how densely the bacteria had traveled. The Navy's own reports later revealed that the operation effectively blanketed the entire city, home to more than 800,000 people at the time, with millions of microscopic organisms. At the time, the people of San Francisco noticed nothing unusual. The fog was common, and the Navy's activities went entirely unannounced. The residents continued with their daily routines, unaware that they were participants in a large-scale, uncontrolled experiment. But just days after the test began, an alarming event occurred. Patients at Stanford Hospital developed unusual, hard-to-treat infections. One man, Edward J. Nevin, a 75-year-old retired pipefitter, fell gravely ill with a rare urinary tract infection caused by Serratia marcescens, a bacterium virtually unknown in clinical cases in the region before that moment. Despite aggressive treatment, Nevin died. Several other patients were infected, though they survived. At the time, doctors were baffled, and the connection to the Navy's bacterial spraying was never officially acknowledged. The truth of Operation Sea Spray remained buried for more than 2 decades. It was only in the 1970s, during a series of Senate hearings on government biological warfare testing, that the story came to light. In 1976, the Senate Subcommittee on Health and Scientific Research, chaired by Senator Edward Kennedy, reveal that from 1949 to 1969, the U.S. military had conducted at least 239 open-air biological and chemical tests in various parts of the country. Many of these involved the release of microorganisms over populated areas, all without informing the public or securing their consent. The government defended the San Francisco test by reiterating that the bacteria used were considered harmless at the time. But the Nevin family, along with public health experts, challenged this claim. Infections caused by Serratia marcescens, they argued, were rare but potentially deadly, especially in vulnerable individuals. The Nevins sued the federal government, claiming negligence and wrongful death. The case, however, was dismissed in 1981 when the court ruled that the government retained sovereign immunity for such acts, even if they resulted in harm. Operation Sea Spray became a symbol of the uneasy balance between national security and public health ethics. The experiment highlighted not only the military's willingness to conduct risky tests on unwitting citizens, but also the flaws in the scientific assumptions underlying such tests. It underscored how the definition of harmless in microbiology was both context-dependent and dangerously uncertain when applied to real-world populations. Moreover, it raised enduring questions about informed consent, a principle that was supposedly enshrined after the revelations of Nazi medical experiments during the Nuremberg trials. The secrecy of the operation, combined with the fact that it targeted a major American city, ignited a wave of distrust once the facts emerged. Citizens wondered how often they had been used as guinea pigs without knowing. In the years that followed, other incidents were uncovered, such as zinc-cadmium sulfide dispersals over the Midwest, spraying of bacteria in the New York City subway system, and chemical tests in poor urban neighborhoods. Together, these revelations painted a picture of a Cold War government willing to push the boundaries of ethics in the name of defense preparedness. For San Francisco, the memory of the 1950 test lingers as both a cautionary tale and a stark reminder of the hidden histories that lie beneath official narratives. The city that once thought its fog was merely a quirk of nature had, for a brief and unsettling moment, been turned into a laboratory. The episode left behind no visible scars on the skyline, no monuments, no plaques. But in the annals of American history, Operation Sea Spray stands as a chilling example of how secrecy, science, and military ambition can converge, and of the very human cost that can follow when the public is left in the dark.